Now that's what we're talking about. God bless that child. God bless that child. As Robin mentioned at the first service, that song's come to her as she's been in New Thought, that child represents that Christ presence within each and every one of us. So feel that Christ presence, that child within you, and I'm talking about the baby that you were when you came onto the planet, but that impulse, that seed that is the divinity that is already within you. There's nothing you have to do but open to it, realize it, accept it, receive it. God bless that child in you. Now, I mean, receive it. God bless you. God bless me. Feel it energetically. Feel the energy of that beautiful song that Robin did so gorgeously. Feel that energy of God blessing you right here, right now. God bless the child that you are. As we celebrate this Easter week, we start with Palm Sunday, the journey, the triumphant entry into Jerusalem. You all have palms? Yes? Wave them. Wave them. Oh, hi. Nice to see you too. There was a Palm Sunday many years ago, or a few years back, and like many churches, people received the palms. There was a little boy, 6-year-old little boy one year, who was sick. He was sick with strep throat and he could not go to church. So he had to stay home with a family member. The rest of his family went to church, and when they came back, they were all waving their palms just like that. And the little boy said, "What are those and what are they for?" And his mother replied, "People held them over Jesus' head when he walked by." The little boy says, "Wouldn't you know it, the one Sunday I miss church, Jesus comes." So as you wave your palms, know that the Christ is here in each and every one of us. In each and every one of us, because that's what we're awakening to this year. So the triumphant entry, it's in every one of the 4 Gospels. That's important because there's not too many things that are in all 4. But reading out of the book of Matthew, the most well-known, I feel a little like I'm hiding behind the palms. Maybe I need to be under them. When they had come near Jerusalem at the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go into the village ahead of you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, just say this: 'The Lord needs them,' and he will send them immediately." This took place to fulfill what had been spoken through the prophet, saying, "Tell the daughter of Zion, look, your king is coming to you, humble and mounted on a donkey and on a colt, the foal of a donkey." The disciples went and did as Jesus had directed them. They brought the donkey and the colt and put their cloaks on them, and he sat on them. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, and others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of him and that followed were shouting, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest heaven!" And when he entered Jerusalem, the whole city was in turmoil, asking, "Who is this?" And the crowds were saying, "This is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee." Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest heaven. Hosanna sounds like praise, yes? Hosanna really means save us. Save us from the Roman oppression. Save us from the Romans. Save us. And on that day, some 2,000 years ago, there were actually two processions into Jerusalem. Jesus on the one side of town, and on the other side of town, the Roman imperial procession. The Romans had taken over the city of Jerusalem, and Passover was a day of celebration from domination. It was a day that was celebrating the freedom from Egypt. And so Rome and the Roman soldiers and Pontius Pilate and all the guards and many people would enter into Jerusalem to continue the domination, to make sure that there was no unrest, to make sure that there was no revolt, to make sure that things were in order. Rome represents basically, metaphysically, the head, Jerusalem, the heart. Rome also represents the willful intellect. So the willful intellect, the head, was bringing more soldiers, more cavalry. It was a grand procession. It was, the carriages and the horses and the drums and the flutes and all accord. It was a royal procession on one side, coming in to make sure that the Jews behaved, basically. Coming into the heart, taking over the heart, and yet on the other side of the city at the same time, fulfilling the prophecy. In comes the King of the Jews, humble, meek, riding on a donkey. But what about that donkey? What if that donkey could talk? The donkey would say, at first I thought I was the center of attention. The cheering people, the palm branches, the coats on the side of the road. But I slowly began to realize I was not the center of attention. It was the man riding on my back. The people cried, "Bless the coming kingdom of our ancestor David." Apparently, this man Jesus was the center of the procession and the center of God's plan for the entire world. It was hard to believe that some of the people who blessed this man on his way into Jerusalem later cursed him and called for his death. Just as I mistook myself for the center of attention on that day, many humans reject Jesus whenever they mistake themselves for the center of attention. I wasn't the center of the party, but the Creator clearly said that He needed me. But if I were not to be the center, then what would He do with me? Why not a camel decked in sumptuous velvets, or a white stallion outfitted for the battle? Why such a lowly creature like me? Perhaps it was because of my endurance, my agility, or my gentle and patient spirit. Later, the disciples remembered that I was a fulfillment of prophecy.